And I think that we need to be skeptical of everything that we are told by people in power. And I mean, that obviously should be the mantra of being a journalist to begin with. If your mother tells you she loves you, get a second source. Right. But we just need to remember that. Like, politicians lie. White Houses lie. Power is an aphrodisiac. And we just need to all remember that and not take at face value anything that we're told. In terms of the left, it's a money grab. I mean, that's not the case. It's not. This is. I don't want to get into where my money comes from, but I'm. CNN is my main job, and that's where my main source of income by far. Very few people write books to make money. You write a book because you want to say something. You want to have a legacy. You want to uncover something. You have a message you want to get out there. I don't think people write books about Joe Biden to make money. We are gratified that people are buying this book.
That's a good point.
But I don't think. I mean, the idea that I would do this for money is it's silly and not true.
I'm just pulling the Jake Tapper. I'm just asking the questions the people want to know. So that's where we are with this.
I got it.
I got you.
Joe Biden is not Richard Nixon. The hiding and the cover-up of his deterioration is not Watergate. I'm not entirely sure I agree, Jake, with that conclusion. Yeah, well, I'm not entirely sure.
The next line is it is an entirely separate scandal. It is a scandal.
Yes.
It is without question, and maybe even worse than Watergate in some ways.
Right.
Because Richard Nixon was in control of his faculties when he wasn't drinking.
Boy. So we got to talk about Joe Biden, who is now speaking out, I believe, for the first time after publicly announcing that he had cancer. Now, I personally believe that the guy had cancer a long time ago, and they knew about it, and they covered it up. Okay, and he is actually lashing out against Jake Tapper, who is pretending to be a real journalist by coming out here and covering and exposing the cover-up that he participated in. Okay, and Joe Biden does not seem to appreciate that, which again is why he's now lashing out against the mainstream liberal media, at least CNN, that is, not so much MSNBC, because MSNBC refuses to cover this story, but he's lashing out against those who are writing books about him, right? Trying to make some money, trying to grift off of the cover-up that they participated in. And this is what he had to say as he faced questions about his mental acuity.
Well, the prognosis is good. We're working on everything. It's moving along. So I feel good.
Have you decided on your treatment options?
Yeah, we have. And they're underway, and all the folks are very optimistic.
And so you've started treatment?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Would you be willing to share what exactly that entails?
Well, it's all a matter of taking a pill, one particular pill, and for the next 6 weeks and then another one. And the expectation is we're going to be able to beat this. It's not in any organ. It's my bones are strong. I hadn't penetrated, so I'm feeling good.
So I feel like everybody
I've done it all because I'm loyal. I do it every damn year at the very beginning. I never forget where I came from. That's why.
I feel like everybody didn't know what to expect of you today, and then you get here and you're speaking powerfully. You look good. You're confident. What do you say to all those people? Don't count you out.
Well, I say lots of luck in their senior year.
What has this been like for your family? Obviously, this is also an emotional time. This is the 10-year anniversary of your son, Bo's passing. You received this diagnosis just 2 weeks before that.
Well, we're all optimistic about the diagnosis. Matter of fact, one of the leading surgeons in the world is working with me. And he had diagnosed with the same exact thing 32 years ago. He's alive and well and doing very well. So we're optimistic. We're optimistic.
And there's also been a lot of discussion recently about your mental and physical capabilities while you were in office.
You can see that. I'm mentally incompetent, and I can't walk, and I can beat the hell out of both of them.
Do you want to reply to any of those reports, and also to the fact that there are some Democrats who are now questioning whether you should have run for re-election in the first place?
Why didn't they run against me then? Because I'd have beaten them.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't have any regrets. Look, there's a lot going on, and I think we're in a really difficult moment not only in American history, but in world history. I think we're one of those inflection points in history where the decisions we make in the next little bit are going to determine what things look like in the next 20 years. I've been talking about that for a long time. And I'm very proud. I'll put my record as president against any president at all. You notice the 10 leading presidential historians rated me pretty good up on that list, and the guy I ran against, I rated him the last. So we'll see.
So you had
Watch me.
You have your grandson with you today. What's it mean to have your family here and be able to look out at him while you're talking?
It feels good. Look, that's my son Bo's son. And Bo started coming here with me about the same age. So it's, he wanted to be where his dad had been and what he's doing. He just graduated from high school. He's going off to college in the fall. And I'm really proud of him. And he is the son of his father. So,
do you have anything to say to the press secretary?
Okay, we heard for the first time there from former President Biden.
Yes, you seen that, you heard that. Okay, I think that is a classic Biden moment. He claimed that he could beat the hell out of Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, right? He said, I can beat the hell out of both of them. Here's the thing about Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden, he's a funny guy, right? I mean, when he first got in office, I was like, man, this next 4 years is going to be boring, right? This is going to be a boring presidency. But it was honestly one of the most entertaining presidencies I've ever lived through, right? The Joe Biden presidency, because this dude is, he's just a very fascinating character. But regardless, old Joe here, again, is showing his delusions, right? He actually thinks that he was a good president, right? And that he would have beat, anybody in an election and all that. And it's like, okay, well, if you felt that way, why'd you drop out for it? We all know why, because his handlers made him drop out, right? They said, no, you can't continue to run, that you're going to get blown out if you stay in the race and try to face President Trump, right? And that's what happened at the end of the day. So again, Biden really not beating the accusations that he's mentally declining, because again, you have to be mentally declining to believe that Joe Biden actually had a chance of beating Trump, or that he was fully capable of remaining president of the United States, right? So again, Biden is living in his delusions, right, in his last days, right? So it seems. So with that being said, we got to talk a little bit more about Jake Tapper, okay? Because it seems like this book tour is kind of backfiring on him, okay? As he has suffered the lowest ratings in a decade after backlash over White House tell-all. So let's read this. CNN anchor Jake Tapper has suffered his lowest rated month in a decade amid backlash over his tell-all book about former President Joe Biden's mental health decline. The lead with Jake Tapper averaged just 525,000 viewers from April 28th through May 25th, shedding a quarter of its audience from the same period last year, new Nielsen ratings show. The devastating numbers came as the liberal anchor continues his whirlwind book tour to promote the expos. Tapper has been ubiquitous on podcasts, talk shows, and cable news to promote the book, which was also widely celebrated on CNN. His CNN program was beat out by Fox News, The Five, and Special Report with Bret Baier, which averaged 3.3 million viewers, as well as MSNBC's programming in The Tom Slot, which averaged a little over 1 million viewers. That means Tapper's show received only 11% of the national cable news audience, while MSNBC received 21% and Fox received 68%. It also represented Tapper's lowest rated month since August 2015, according to Fox News. Even worse, the lead with Jake Tapper is seeing a lower audience of 25 to 54-year-olds, a demographic that is coveted by advertisers and helps networks earn revenue. Yeah, so again, this is fascinating. And the reason why it is fascinating, because this tell-all, okay, is supposed to be Jake Tapper's attempt to regain credibility. However, it seems to be backfiring in regards to viewership, and the reason why, I think, is because Democrats don't want to hear the truth, and conservatives are not all of a sudden going to be watching Jake Tapper because he's pretending to be a journalist, right? So now what you have is Jake Tapper losing an audience with Democrats, right? Again, because they don't want to hear the truth, right? They hate the truth, okay? And yeah, conservatives just never tuned in. So now everybody is just, turned on Jake Tapper, right? Everybody hates Jake Tapper at this point. And that seems to be showing up in his book sales, okay? Because allegedly, okay, per Circana book scan, it only sold 53,737 print units in the first week, right? Now, again, this is not good, considering the fact that This dude has been everywhere. He's been on everybody's podcast. He's been on everybody's TV show. I think he's been on MSNBC as well, too. He's been everywhere, right? Literally everywhere promoting this book. And this is the result. Only 53,000 copies were sold, right? I mean, this dude probably got millions and millions and millions of impressions, right? Trying to sell this book. And, you know, it just is not selling well, okay? By comparison, Bob Woodward's book, Fear, Trump in the White House, sold 1.1 million copies in his first week, right? So, yeah, compared to other books that, you know, kind of have similar themes, right? The whole, hey, well, let's expose the prior administration, right? Yeah, not selling well, okay? Not selling well at all. So with that being said, what do we have here, okay? If these numbers are true, if in fact Jake Tapper only sold 53,000 books in his first week, yeah, this is a full-blown backfire on Jake Tapper, okay? Like I said, he's not getting Democrats to buy the book. Republicans aren't buying the book. Conservatives aren't buying the book, right? I told people don't buy the book, right? And I still want to tell people don't buy the book because he does not deserve to get the book sales, okay? He does not deserve the recognition or the praise that he's trying to get for exposing a cover-up that he participated in, right? He was a part of the cover-up. And you don't get brownie points for coming out here too late and now saying, oh, well, this was the truth, right? And now you want to actually try to be a journalist. And it's like, no. When you had the opportunity to do it, you failed, okay? You had the opportunity to expose Joe Biden when it really mattered, okay? But you chose not to do that. Not only did Jake Tapper choose not to do it, but he chose to actively cover it up, right? He ran defense for the Biden administration, okay? And that is an unforgivable sin, right? Maybe I should write a book called Unforgivable Sin, okay? How the mainstream liberal media covered up Biden's cover-up and then turn around and try to expose the cover-up that they participated in, right? Maybe that should be the follow-up, okay? Unforgivable Sin, featuring Jake Tapper and the rest of the mainstream liberal media. Because essentially that's what they did. It's an unforgivable sin, okay? The original sin may be the cover-up with Joe Biden and his handlers, but the unforgivable sin really is the mainstream liberal media participating in it and then coming out and pretending like they didn't know, right? And patting themselves on the back, writing books, right? Giving themselves awards for participating in a cover-up, right? Not doing journalism at the time in which the journalism would have possibly changed the course of the country, right? I mean, we don't know, okay? Now, you know, ultimately Trump won, so hey, it is what it is, you know? But had they actually did real journalism, let's say as far back as 2022 or 2023 on this topic, Joe Biden may have dropped out, okay? And there would have been an actual Democrat primary. And who knows, maybe Democrats would have had a stronger candidate. So, you know, looking back at it, I'm kind of like, well, hey, you know, I don't like the fact they covered it up, but I believe that the cover-up kind of led to Trump winning, okay, because it convinced Democrats that they could allow Joe Biden to stay in the race and that they would have the mainstream liberal media on their side in order to be able to cover up his mental decline, and that would push Biden over the finish line. However, Biden was in such bad shape that that plan didn't happen, right? It did not work out due to the fact that Biden just couldn't make it, right? He couldn't hide it on the world stage, okay? And that's essentially what happened. Seeing the downfall of the mainstream liberal media is glorious, absolutely glorious. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.